What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Ninth Realm, an Age of Sigmar podcast brought to you by FrontlineGaming.org, where you can get your tabletop gaming goodies at a discount every day.
Every day.
All day.
Every day, says the teacher of children. I'm glad.
I can decipher lots of different languages, yes.
Good. So,
K1, 2, and 3 languages. That's
K1, 2, and 3, yes. Well, I'm at a K1, I think.
okay.
Isn't that the best? Number one?
Yes, number one is the best. You're right.
Nailed it. Jason is not yet to K1.
No.
He's languishing in K3, I think.
K3? I'll take K3.
So anyway, guys, sometimes we talk about Age of Sigmar, which is a tabletop miniatures game set in the realms, one of which is the Ninth Realm.
That's our realm.
That's the realm we command.
We live here.
And if there's ever an army that comes out that is featured in the Ninth Realm, it'll be ours.
It'll be ours.
Well, it would be required to buy, build, and paint it.
We're required to buy, build, and paint.
Yes.
At our normal speeds.
Yes, which is for me, glacial.
It's really goofy.
Yes, I am not a fast hobbyist. So today we're going to talk about, obviously, the announcement of the Generals Handbook 2017, or as the interwebs is calling it, Generals Handbook 2. And we're going to talk about what GW has teased out, what we've heard, what we hope to see, and of course, we'll walk about the realms.
Yay.
That was the best thing you ever came up with.
Is it still used?
I hope Mariano puts it in there.
I hope so, yes. We pause every moment for that.
Okay, so why don't we dive right in? Rumor mill. It looks like a lion?
A lion face, maybe on the front of an armor or a shield or something. Obviously, it looks very Stormcasty.
What is there a legion that has 2 in it? A Space Marine Legion?
Yeah, it's, I believe, one of the missing legions.
Is it?
The first legion is the Dark Angels.
Who's the second?
The third legion is the Emperor's Children, if I remember it correctly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember. Well, I thought it might have been Dark Angels thing because they're the lions, but
Right.
maybe that's a 2?
It could have been. That's my thoughts. Because what are the Ultramarines?
I don't know. They're like 13th or 14th or something.
Okay. It could be a Stormcast Eternals helmet or shoulder pauldron thing.
I think I'm leaning towards Stormcast Eternals.
Yeah, it matches the same
so.
lion
Kind of
faces that I've painted a
iconography.
dozen of, so.
I hope we get something soon. It's been a bit of a desert due to the behemoth. That is 8th Realm 40K.
8th Realm 40K.
Yeah.
I accidentally tweeted that we were playing 9th edition 40K. And that's turned into a meme.
We've started saying 9th edition 40K, and we've started saying 8th Realm 40K sometimes.
8th Realm.
We're starting to get
9th
things
edition.
mixed up just a bit.
Which is, good fun.
Yeah.
But it is time for the actual walk about the realms.
What everybody's been doing?
I have not.
What has Scott been doing?
I got it in a game.
You got in the game?
I did.
Yes.
You were
did.
there.
It was
I
documented.
shoutcasted that bad boy.
Yep.
That was, Scott, do I need a doll so you can show where the bad man touched you after that game?
Nonsense. It was a fine game. It was great. There's just a few dice rolls here or there I could have snuck in a victory.
Yeah.
It would have been a sneak, though. I described it after as I was kind of like the Germans in World War I. I had some punches to throw, but they had to land just right to tip the favor, and they just didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's not when you risk the future of your country on.
No,
On
it was just a game, so that's good.
Yeah.
How long did the game go? Because it's like I heard that you got slammed because I didn't stay.
Between talking and back and forth, we started into
was
2
2
hours
hours.
ish.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it wasn't like.
So without that, if we just hit the table and played, we'd have been done in 90 minutes.
They
give or take.
played all 5 turns, but
Yep.
it was one of we've all played these games. It was a game where Scott went second by choice, and he never got the double turn until it didn't matter, until turn 4.
Yeah.
So by the time he finally got it, the damage had been done. Brandon was playing a nasty -3 to hit
Minus
in
3
melee,
hit. Melee, yeah.
death army. So half of Scott's guys were hitting on 6s if at all.
And Scott had no shooting, right?
No, because
Nope.
he's Iron
None.
Jaws.
Iron Jaws.
So it was just
I have
like
to go over
a
and punch you in the
horrible-
face.
Yeah.
Horrible
what we
matchup. But if Scott played it correctly, and if he would have got the double turn on turn 2 or turn 3, but particularly on turn 2, very good chance that he could pull it out and win that game, despite the inequities of the list.
Yeah, the right flank. I could have crippled the right flank. I had a good chance of doing it if I got it in the second turn. And
But
then the third turn, I had a sneak move I could have done where I literally could have run out of combat, stood on the other objective, and in turn 3, hold all 4, you're done.
Yeah, if he would have won the, if he would
He
have won
got the initiative and
What
killed
was,
enough of them, I couldn't do it.
What was this trick that Brandon was doing?
No, it was Neferata and Mongols
Yeah.
combined -3 to hit.
And that's a bubble?
Yeah, it's dumb. It's the Morgul is
Well, and with that army, you put them forward to go fight because you don't want to risk the zombies.
So this is a stacking ability that's
Yep.
going on?
No, it's two different abilities.
Okay.
It is two different abilities. So even if what we think is going to happen with they dropped the hint, more rules of one, which I'm sure it's going to be.
Which we'll talk about.
I don't know.
Topic.
I'd be willing to bet that it's you can't stack the same aura more than once.
Right.
But Scott hung in there. You were a gentleman. Beautiful army. Beautiful game. Both armies look great.
Yep.
Table looked great. And it was one of those games where if you would have gotten it when you needed it,
I'd have made it a game rather than it being kind of a slow grind to my doom.
To your inevitable demise. But it just the wind just did not blow Scott's way. No. And then Brandon got the infinite damage spell off and nuked an entire unit of brutes.
Is that with Arcan the Black?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I ended up finally getting the double turn for the last turn. Everything was gone except for a few characters sitting around going, hey, what do we do now? What's up?
And then Brandon, not only was he he'd have a model hang on by 1 wound, 2 wounds, and then they start regenerating.
Right.
So then they'd be back up to like full health. You're like, oh my gosh. Oh, but Scott, you were a trooper. You were a trooper. A walkabout the realms, though, you painted some Primaris Marines and Salamanders colors. I know that's a 40K unit, but that is kind of what is on everybody's hobby desk right now.
Yeah. I cleared everything else off. I got all my Stormcast done and out of the way and on the shelf that I had started so I could start on these guys. And I've got 3 more groups of 5 to finish up.
They look
before
amazing.
my desk is clean again.
Yeah. Absolutely awesome looking Salamanders Primaris.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I love them. A lot of people have kind of reacted from, I don't know, positive to extremely negative about Primaris Marines. And for me, as soon as I saw them physically, I was like, done deal.
Yeah, they look right. The proportions are right. You know, and I played my other Marines a couple weekends back, and they just don't look right on the table.
Yeah. We have them here in the studio, like next to, like normal literally Marines. Standing next to normal Marines, and you're just like, ugh.
You will not go back. You will not go back. Like some of my armies, I don't care. I'll continue to add to them in the same scale.
Oh yeah.
I think I don't really care that much, but like if I were to start a new Space Marine army, which I'm sure I will at some point in time, no question at all.
Yeah.
They're going to be Primaris Marines. And like especially the Reavers, the backstory and the way they look, I was like, done deal. Yeah. They are absolutely phenomenal.
Well, we know they're going to support it. They're coming out with stuff for it already.
I mean, this is going to be what Space Marines are. They're true scale Space Marines. Yeah. And you may love it, you may hate it. This is the way they introduced it into the game. They came up with a story to explain why they look the way they look.
Right.
Some people might have been happier if they just would have said, "Hey, this is it. This is the new kit."
Yep. Maybe
that may have caused more rage. Who knows? I don't know.
You can still use the old ones.
You can't ever estimate the correct amount of rage that you're going to get.
It's infinite.
You never
Jason.
Can. The rage is infinite.
It's like Archon the Black Spell.
It's infinite. It's just gonna you get to that one.
We kind of know that ourselves from manufacturing as well.
Yeah.
You can never accept. You never
know. They kept all the old models current in both games. They want to keep. I think they want to keep them both current. They don't want to kick anybody out. So you don't have really a good reason to rage because I can put my old Marines on the table.
Right.
I can put my Scorpions out. They look fine. They all look cohesive as their own.
On the 32mm bases, and like someone had pointed out, like if you elevate them up a little bit, like put them on like some rocks.
Yeah.
You can't really. It's hard to tell the difference unless you really look close. So it's really not that big of a deal.
Especially at tabletop where you're looking down at them.
Yeah. So enough about 40K though. Let's move on and talk about the Generals Handbook 2. This is super exciting. Yep. We've all been waiting for this pretty much all year.
Yep.
We've been waiting for it since Generals Handbook 1. We're like, are they actually going to do it? Are they actually going to do it? Are they actually going to update points and rules? Are we actually getting a living rule set like we've been asking for forever?
Are we going to see Fire Slayers
on the table?
Yep.
On the table.
I think the answer is going to be yes.
Yeah, they changed the points. They released that for the South Coast GT, and some people are allowing those points. Some are waiting for the official book to come out. But there are people starting armies of Fire Slayers just waiting for the points to change, so they can become a little more of a horde army and actually be more successful on the table.
And they're beautiful models, and they're cool.
It's a brand new faction.
I can't wait. So let's go over what GW has told us to expect. So they said the 3 ways to play is still in there: open, narrative, and match.
Yeah, Path to Glory will be separated.
They've
already given
book.
us that. It'll be a different book.
I want to play a Path to Glory campaign. I don't really have time, but it really appeals to me.
Yeah.
Where you get your warband and they level up, and then you get gold and treasure and all kinds of renown and all this fun stuff. I think it sounds like a great way to start the Age of Sigmar hobby, but also just for something fun to do.
And they're beefing up the open play where Path to Glory kind of came out of by more battle plans, doing Triumph and Treachery. So more battle plans with multiple players. So getting more people on the table, which is always fun, especially when teaching people, having 3 or 4 play, they all get to watch.
Yeah, indeed. Multiplayer games are actually a lot of fun, and young people especially. That's like in our store, the Munchkins, we used to have a whole crowd of Munchkins that would come into our store in Martinez especially, and now they're all like going to college. Can you believe that?
No.
That's what happens.
On Facebook, because we're all friends, and I was like,
grow.
you're in college now? We weren't even in high school when we met you guys.
They all did not age well.
No, get out of here.
Wow.
They are strapping young bucks, Jason.
Well, I'm hoping the Triumph and Treachery rules they add go back to the old set for multiplayer, because that was a lot of fun.
I agree, but like when they all played team games. That's like the only way they ever played. And they never, there was no points.
No rules, there's nothing.
Nothing. They just put all their models on the table, and this is where power level comes from, and this is where like things like Age of Sigmar were like, you know what, screw the rule, like screw points.
There was no rules.
No.
Let's put them all down.
But they had a great time, and it was creating stories about the insane crap that was the rules were not right.
Nope.
None of this stuff.
You don't have to worry about that.
No, they were just having
fun.
fun.
As long as you all agree on what you're going to do, it doesn't really matter.
What does this orc guy do? I don't know. It'd be cool if he jumped off the building, though. If you roll a 1, he dies. Like, well, and that's part of the fun, though. And I think that's great. And then the Path to Glory and open play, that definitely is where that has its roots. But they also said that there's going to be more rules for narrative play with expanded siege rules and new times of war rules.
And that's for the different realms. They're going to actually include some of the realms they haven't talked about yet.
Will they have the 9th realm?
Maybe.
That would be really cool.
Apparently, from that side of the table will be the Snarky realm.
Yes.
That's what it'll be, the Snark.
Yes.
I'm just saying. That's
if you
stressful realm.
If you get a
stressful realm.
If you get a sick burn on your opponent, you get a reroll.
There you go.
You know what's funny watching you play last night?
Uh-huh.
I was like, use a command point. Oh man, God, that'd be so nice. Only Tzeentch get them in Age of Sigmar, but in 40K you get command points. And that is like the best change they made to the game. I love it. Even though we always fail to reroll, it's nice to get the chance.
They give you hope, and then the roll takes it away.
Yeah.
That's,
I know. So there was so many times I was like, "Oh, Scott, you just reroll it." Oh, you can't.
Just that one.
Man, so match play will include new battle plans.
New battle plans.
Some new rules of 1. That was the one that I immediately was like, yes.
Okay.
New rules of 1.
And updated points for the factions. And then they're like, how long have we waited for this? Since forever.
Right.
Well, the new point. That's really is what everybody's waiting for. Because how often have we gotten stuck with like the dwarf book that dropped for Old Fantasy?
Right.
They sat with that book for a long time. There are other armies that sat even longer waiting for the right book to come out.
Right.
And even 40K is the same thing. A Chaos book dropped, and they didn't change that for years. They promised factions and never gave it to us, and they just languished. And the same thing's true in Fantasy.
Hopefully with these point costs, we see a drop in points for these cavalry units that you're just never going to see.
Or I would rather see an increase in hitting power.
That would require a reprint of all the rules, though, so I think the points is...
I'm reaching, or just a rule. Right. Cavalry. If you have the cavalry keyword, on the turn you charge, you do something.
Right.
Double damage. Whatever. I'm just throwing stuff out.
Something.
Without writing rules, it'd be hard to actually make like Reichsguard.
But if you just reduce the points a little bit,
if you reduce the points to a very small amount.
Fed them something.
Yeah, it's just, that's not...
it still doesn't do anything.
It's a workable solution. That's probably the solution we get. But it's just, I would like it to be a little bit more representative of a cavalry charge where they murder things.
They don't hit hard enough. Most of them don't hit hard enough in the charge. I totally agree with they're awful after the charge, because that's the way most cavalry ended up working. If you didn't break what you were hitting and escape, you typically get ground to death.
Yeah.
And that's
but they don't hit hard enough to really make that trade.
Because they don't go anywhere. But that's a bummer. And unfortunately, that won't be fixed with the Generals Handbook.
And the next one that got me really excited was the Allegiance abilities. They announced they're actually going to come out with them for Fireslayer, Seraphon, Slaneshi Hordes, and Night Haunts. And I happen to have Night Haunts painted and ready to go.
And over a dozen other factions.
Others.
Please tell me my Freeples.
Yep.
They're like extra shooting. I'm like,
something.
More rockets. Yes.
There's so many armies since they've come out with that format of giving every faction or every allegiance certain spells, certain special abilities, special commands that just help them, that a few of the armies that came out before that, they just don't have that edge or that magic shine to be a little more fun on the table.
Well, what I would love to see too, and this is purely speculation, purely wish listing, no basis in reality, is to consolidate, as we've said, take this opportunity to consolidate some of those disparate and ridiculously small factions and fold them up into one keyword. Like Empire or Free Peoples. include the Celestial, the Arcane, the College
All the
Arcane,
wizards, yeah.
the include the Ironworld Arsenal, although there are some dwarves in there, you might have to separate those out. Include the Sigmar religious fanatic dudes.
Yep.
And then put that into one faction and go, the Celestial Hurricanum only works on these dudes.
Yep.
But they all can mix and match.
Yeah.
The way you get with Seraphon, the way you get with Stormcast Eternal.
And A-Elves need kind of the same thing because they've been so fractionalized. It's really hard to put on a force with them.
Yeah, just make and then put them all into one group so that they're all one army. Give them their faction ability.
Yeah.
And, fix the points on things like Wanderers who are dramatically overpriced.
Yeah.
And that makes all of a sudden all these armies are now fun. They're playable. You're going to sell a lot more models. You're going to get more variety at leagues and tournaments. It's only a positive, and I would really like to see that happen.
Yep.
Well, if you guys had one change you'd like to see the most, what would it be?
Well, I'm really excited about the Night Haunts coming out because I actually have a Force Painted, so I actually get some rules for them. But it changed.
Always looking out for number one.
Rules of one.
Noted.
I'd like to see the not stacking, definitely, in the rules of one. And maybe even not non-stacking of things that hit the same target. So you couldn't do a -2 and a -1. It's a -2 or a -1. Take the
highest that applies.
Right.
Says the guy who just got Mourngold.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but you're dealing with a D6 system. 1 is 16%, 2 is 33 and a third percent. You're talking about a huge hit.
Or a situation where you always hit on a 6.
A situation where you always hit a 6, so you can't say 0.
Yeah, you can't auto miss, which is just the definition of not fun.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
and you're taking your opponent out of the game.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, well, what's the point of playing? And then at that point, like,
if you could do that once per game, and I've said this a million times, if it's like a feat in War Machine, where it's like once per game,
right,
my hero can do this thing where everybody within 3 inches can't hit. Okay, because we all plan for it. But if it's a permanent thing, like
a constant,
Well, command abilities, I don't know if you recall, but when we were playing up in Martinez, when the game first came out, and there were the 4-page rule set, and that's all you had, we actually were using command abilities as a feat, like in War Machine, and it was a once per game deal that you would use when you needed to use it. Right? It was a great thing.
Yeah, I saw
and
that.
And everyone really liked it in that way. And then all of a sudden, it became a lot of pushback. Like, oh no, this should be. They can always use it. And then Games Workshop was like, oh no, it could be used every turn. But then you're like, well, then that makes some armies like immune to battle shock. And they're like, yeah. And you're like, oh.
Well, then you get Archaon, and he's like, everybody can use their command ability.
And then it's like, well, is that really what you meant to do it? And I personally feel like it initially was meant to be more of like a feat, but then it never was really written. There was no rules written about it.
Well, it's the same thing as shooting into and out of combat. I highly doubt.
And that's my change that I would hope. Please, I hope that's in there. No more shooting in and out of combat, or at least have an inch range. Because that makes no sense.
I doubt that was intent. I don't know. I'm guessing.
Right.
But it's become ingrained into the game. Now, people would throw a fit if you took that away. And then they did address it by adjusting points up on shooting units.
They did.
They made them expensive. But I don't think, because in no other Games Workshop game can you do this, ever.
And now there's no reason to not ever
and
take
shooting units.
And shooting is dominating.
Shooting units are terrible at fighting, though.
Wow, tell that to the Zanger Skyfires.
Some are, some are not.
The disc does most of the fighting, but I haven't had a problem with them.
Okay, so the Zanger himself isn't that good, but as a unit, the little spinning blade of death.
Well, and when I say I haven't a problem with it, it's not quite fair, because usually it's Iron Jaws. When they go up to fight him, it's like, oh, okay, little bird man, and we pull them off and beat down the disc. So that's, it's probably why it hasn't seemed that bad to me. But
I think that they should be categorically bad in combat, right? Like, okay, you can have the exception to the rule where there's the one that's both, but you obviously go too far with the Skyfires, which the finals was 23 versus 24 Skyfires, the most definitively.
Well, maybe a point change will affect
a point change could totally do it.
Yes.
A points is the easiest way to fix stuff.
It is.
It is. If you make it very expensive, all of a sudden, not so appealing. Maybe you take one unit.
Well, and some people are talking about actually having 2 layers of points. One set of points in faction and one set of points out, because some factions need their guys at that point cost. Otherwise, you really hurt them.
Right.
And then if you use them individually in an overall alliance, overall death, overall whatever, they're really powerful for that point cost with that setup. As we're in faction. Yeah, it gets really nitpicky and tough to write out.
Complicated.
I don't think they'll go there.
No, I get it, and I agree in principle, but in practice, that is going to get so complex. I think what you do is you make the faction bonuses appealing enough that you don't want to have a mix and match army.
Yeah, and that's one of the things they haven't done with the factions. If you go solo, there's a lot of mixed armies, and like Tzeentch is working solo.
Khorne, Bloodbound.
not really working solo as a lot. I mean, it's good and it's worth playing. Right. It's just as a top end army, if you do mixed chaos versus Khorne Bloodbound, your mixed chaos is going to do better. Right. As where it's Tzeentch or mixed chaos,
Challenge
they're pretty straight.
Accepted.
Okay.
With Khorne Bloodbound, just by itself.
I mean, I think Kharadron Overlords work best when you go all Kharadron Overlords.
I would think they would, but it's mixed. I've played one guy who did really well, had some combinations that helped them shoot regularly, re-roll hits, and another guy who hit the table and tried to use his rules, and I just walked over him.
Yeah. I just, like, to me, like, a big part of playing these kind of games is the aesthetic of it. And, like, I really did not like Come the Apocalypse Allies in 40K, and I'm very happy to see that gone.
Yeah.
You know, that old Necron demon Tyranid combo that you read about so frequently.
Right. It's because you just start cherry picking the very best combos.
It makes me not feel immersed in the game.
You should pick a faction that you like.
Well, and it's got to be hard to write with all these rules, all these different scrolls, to balance it out so where I can do mixed and it's just as good as doing Allegiance. Yeah. You're gonna make some.
Well, you have to use
drops there.
40K did a really good job of this. Is all the abilities only work on people with the exact same faction keyword.
Right.
So it's like, sure, take your thing, but your Space Marine captain only works. Not only does he only work on Space Marines, he only works on Space Marines from his
your
chapter.
Yeah.
So it's like, sure, cherry pick, and you may gain a benefit, but you're not overlapping rules that were probably not intended to overlap.
And they've covered most of that in Sigmar, where not a whole lot overlaps in a certain way. They have other things that fell through the hole, like the one you use, everything get that bonus to hit.
Well, it's because you have the super factions.
Hurricane, right?
Yeah, the Hurricane. Everyone, the Hurricane is broken. Now, if you had it in the context of only working...
a lot of those in the realms, by the way.
Mass-produced.
Mass-produced
Hurricane
He's the Ford, it's the Model T of
every human army.
Just can't keep them bugging stock.
But if it was limited to just free peoples or just like they factionalize free people into some specific group, like with an allegiance, say, no, it only works with them.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's good and you're going to use them because of this.
And then that thing, the mortal wound output needs to be toned down on that thing. Even if you do also limit it to free peoples, it should not automatically do mortal wounds. Even if it was just when you roll a 3d6 on a 1, it does nothing. That alone helps a ton. Because right now it's just automatically...
Yeah,
it's a bit much, and I'm a guy who uses the dang thing. But I mean, at any rate, I think if you use those faction keywords to limit the combos from cherry picking, you'll have more aesthetically cohesive armies, and I think that's better for the game in general.
Yeah, I'd like to see that both work. But yeah, the way to do that is your allegiance abilities make enough of a difference where you level right out to just coming across and picking, or their keywords specifically line up.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they're going to have war gear options available that will help protect against mortal wounds. Because it's become such an issue.
A lot of factions do have that. I mean, the destruction, you have the 4+.
The 4+ I gave to my Maw Crusher.
Is that from the
it's
the
a talisman, it's an item, no, that's destruction. Iron Jaws don't have any items.
Well, the Order faction
faction
has kind of crappy magic items. The Order stuff is actually, I think, at the low end of the spectrum in terms of power, but Order's so good it
and their specific books have a lot of good little things in them to pull too.
Well, and then the Stormcast Eternals have like a freaking arsenal.
Yes.
They have like 24 magic items from which to choose. They have magic items for their mounts.
Yeah.
They're like, this is the super sparkly collar for my dragon.
And the Kharadron Overlords, they get abilities for their ships and their heroes, and you get to double up on those. So if you just field normally, you get one for ship and one for hero.
Right.
You get a battalion, you get one more.
To explain it to you. I was like, just do whatever.
It's all good. So I'm really excited for the Generals Handbook too. I can't wait to see the direction that they take with the game. I think it's going to be really indicative and telling of where they want the game to go, not only from a narrative and casual perspective, but more to our
the release
taste, the competitive.
Right.
They said it's going to be towards the end of the year. So
it's before the end of the year. They didn't even say. They just said later in the year.
School year?
Later in the year, I would imagine. Yeah.
Australian year?
It says 2017, so I'm going to assume before we get to New Year's.
Okay. Well, Australian years are backwards because they're upside down.
What if it's the Australian year?
So it's 7102.
Oof.
They use the same calendar we do. That's not how it works.
It's a different millennium.
No.
It's upside down.
Okay.
K1, baby.
What if it's the Mars year?
Ooh. Is that faster or slower than
I don't
ours?
know.
I think it's faster.
Okay. So then it'd be here like.
So it's going to get here quicker.
Good.
I'm on board with the
Slower?
Mars plan.
I wasn't going to correct him.
He's a year teacher, so.
Isn't the Mars year quicker than the Earth year?
Teach us, Scott.
Well, it's a larger orbit. It goes.
No, it's a smaller orbit. It's closer.
Isn't it
to
closer
no,
to
it
the
is. You're right. Venus is closer. Mars is the fourth planet.
Is it?
Mercury has a very quick. Yeah. Well,
Yes, Mercury, Venus,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then Earth.
Well, that's why we can
Then
go
a
because
belt,
it's farther.
which
It's
was
not so
probably a
hot.
planet hit by a comet and destroyed early on, and then Mars.
the only problem with Mars is it doesn't have a magnetosphere, so therefore you get cooked, or you would die on the surface anyway. But it won't hold an atmosphere.
Right.
That's the main problem.
Let's just do a whole show on Mars.
I love
We have
that
a green
topic.
screen. We can put it
You'd have to live in domes or underground on Mars. That's
above ground.
domes above ground or live underground.
Yep.
Right. But at any rate, I'm very excited for the Generals Handbook 2. I can't wait to see the direction that they take it. I'm hoping that my Wood Elves, aka the Wanderers, are playable.
Or they'll just get squatted.
Ugh.
That would be bad. I just died a little bit inside. But we have a couple events coming up this weekend. Or not this weekend, but in the near future. We do have the Unbound July Sigmar Tournament, Games Workshop in Scottsdale, Arizona. We have the Age of Sigmar Tournament at Flipside Gaming in East Greenbush, New York. Age of Sigmar IT Tournament at Gameology in Montclair, California, which Scott will be at.
I'm going to try and get there, yep.
Dice Hammer SoCal Age of Sigmar GT at Ease Games. That's our neighbor.
And that's the one I'm running.
And that's July 8th. Oh, I'll be there for that.
Oh, yeah,
8th and 9th, yep.
Oh, it's the whole weekend.
What's the painting requirement for that?
Painting requirement, 3 colors.
And based.
Ugh.
Oh, okay.
But that is not hard to do.
Come on.
This is a GT, dude. It's a
I didn't
two-day
think
event.
that you required that stuff.
On a one-dayer, I wouldn't normally. This
Are
is
there
2 days.
exceptions
It is a GT. People pay
friend
$30. They're going to come down and plan. They've written these lists. We have swag to hand out, and you want to bring gray models with no basing whatsoever.
You should feel bad about yourself.
No, he shouldn't. You know.
K3.
I'll be
just
there.
went on a rant,
I'll be there with
so.
something.
Okay, good. And then we have an Age of Sigmar tournament number 3 at New Brand Gaming in Brooklyn, New York. Awesome. Also, I want to take the opportunity to make sure to let you all know about the Best Coast pairings. They do have a paid version of the app now.
Oh yeah,
Very
I paid for
reasonably.
that. It's really good.
No, it's awesome. It is awesome. It's a very reasonable price. You can, what is it, like $5 a month or something like that? Or you can pay for the whole year.
Yeah, I paid for the whole year.
And it saves you money. Make sure to check that out. You're supporting the Best Coast Pairings team, but the app gives you access to like their extensive list database.
List database, previous events, who scored what at those previous events, so they're not pulled down. You can actually pull them up. So I looked at like everything I'd done since they entered into the app, what other people have done, what other Iron Jaw players have as their list, and what they use. And kind of funny because I didn't really look at anybody's list when I made mine, but we're all roughly in the same 5 or 10 models difference.
Well, you don't have a lot to choose
No,
from.
there's not a lot
Yeah.
to choose from. There are a
Right.
few who went heavy on Gorgrunnas, but most of them it's almost the same mix of what I put on the table.
And it's really awesome if you're trying to get that edge or come up with new ideas, look for inspiration. You can see what other people with similar lists are doing, how well they're doing.
How well they're doing
Yeah.
with it.
It gets very specific, what missions they're winning, if they go first, if they go second, et cetera,
Yeah,
et cetera.
if you want to really get into it, you can look at what lists they faced and how they did there, but that takes a little more time, but it's all there to look at.
Yeah, and it's very reasonably priced again. And they do, in the near future, they're going to be rolling out even more incentives where you can get discounts at FLGSs, where you can get discounts on tickets to go to events. Really cool. Definitely check it out, bestcoastpairings.com, and look to get the paid version of the app. Of course, you don't have to. You can participate for free, as we've been doing.
Yep.
But if you do want more data, more information, support the team, definitely consider.
Give you a lot of statistics in there and stuff to look at.
Yeah.
Check it out.
And as we build it up, it's going to be even more cool as time goes by.
Can't see it any getting better. It's got to get better. Right?
It will absolutely get better. Well, anyway, guys, any other thoughts about the Generals Handbook 2 before we wrap it up? I am just super excited. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, can't wait to get my mitts on it. Get started.
I hope
The
they
new
don't.
rules and new what?
Oh, I do want to mention one other thing. I hope they bring some of the battalions that they retired back,
Yes.
like your Greenskins battalion,
Or the Free
the
People
Free Peoples,
stuff. And
the more reasonably sized battalion.
yeah, if it was too overpowered or there's something wrong with it, shave off that part. Just give it back to people because
Yeah, my army was so much more enjoyable to play. I actually think it's more powerful now, but then I had the Pistoliers, and it was a little bit more variety, and it was fun. I had a better chance of going first because I had a battalion. I'm sadly, I anticipate my rockets will probably go up in points fairly
Yeah, and the greenskins list was very much an alpha strike. Get across the table, hit you as hard as I can in that first turn with a great wog, and just make the best out of it. And then after that, they're just greenskins and armor, hoping to survive the rest of the game.
Yeah.
But it was a fun first hit, and everybody who played it when I did use the battalion, they were just shocked the first turn, and then after that they realized, oh, and after that they're just kind of here. Yeah. That's the way it is now. I've pushed you onto that side of the table. Now you just have to get through bodies. Oh, well, that's not as bad as I thought. Yeah, it's not going to be as bad as you thought.
No, the battalions are fun. What about you, Jason?
I'm just looking forward to some fine-tuning of the rules. Like, hopefully stacking abilities are gone and some more abusive mechanics that people are latching onto. I hope those are gone. You know me, I'm a very big proponent of having fun during games and making sure that your opponent is involved. So I think there can only be something good about this. So looking forward to it. Hopefully soon we get a release date.
Yeah, I hope I get my hands on it too before, because there's new scenarios, so I can actually put the overlay I put on the other scenarios and get that ready for the Open.
Well,
SoCal Open.
You lucky ducks, we usually get stuff early to review it, and I hope that this is no exception to that. And if so, you guys, the day that we are able to put out a full review, we will.
Yep.
And keep your eyes open for that. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Ninth Realm. We hope to see you guys on the stream at Twitch. It's frontlinegaming_TV is our Twitch channel. You can see some live Age of Sigmar. We're playing on Wednesday nights. And Scott played in the first game. You can see how bad it can be against death.
Oh. It wasn't bad. It was fun.
You can see a stalwart Orc player fighting to the very end. Thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.